Hi, this is Usha. We are continuing this series of budget. So in part 1 we discussed about most of the analysis part. So whatever the part which is left here regarding this capital expenditure and digital currency and fiscal consolidation, that we are going to discuss in this lecture. So actually this part 2 is very important from your means. So let's get started with our discussion and let us try to see with this capex. So what is this capex? Capex, it is nothing but capital expenditure. Capex, it is nothing but capital expenditure. So if you are talking about in this year budget, so how much amount which is allocated for this capital budget? Already you have studied about number of editorials till now which are appeared in your Hindu, right? So it mainly says that there is increasing of this capital expenditure. So now let us try to look over that data. So if you see allocation in 2020-21, it was like rupees 4,26,000 crore. Okay. So in 2020 to 2021, allocation for this capital expenditure was like 4,26,000 crore rupees. So it is revised estimates. That is what is the thing which is mainly spent actually. So in 2021 to 2022, here again revised estimate was 6,02,000 crore rupees. Okay. So when we are comparing with this 2020-2021, so revised estimates of 2021, it is much higher. And if you see the budgetary estimates, now we came with our budgetary estimates. So in this budgetary estimates of this 2022 to 2023, it was like 7,50,000 crore. So it is like huge jump that we can see. That is a more than 24% of expenditure that we are going to have in this capital expenditure this year. Okay. So if you see this data, then you can see like, so from constantly 3 years, there is increasing of budgetary allocation for this capital expenditure. So this might be the statement in your prelims. Okay. So here when we are comparing with 2020 to 21, 2021, 2022, 2020 to 2023, there is budgetary allocation which is very much high. Okay. So from constantly from last 3 onwards, there is increasing of budgetary expansion for this capex, that is capital expenditure. So now let us try to understand what is this capital expenditure and what is the relevance of this capital expenditure. So what is this capital expenditure in short? I can say like, so whatever the expenditure, that is any expenditure which mainly creates assets, okay, or which also reduces liability. Liability is nothing but old loan, or whenever you are paying back your loans, so on that liabilities also we can decrease our interest payments, right? So what is this capital expenditure? Capital expenditure is nothing but any expenditure which mainly creates an asset, or whenever it is reducing the liability, that mainly comes under your capital expenditure. So for example, so what can come under this capital expenditure? You might be having doubts. For example, whenever we are going for any construction of railway lanes or railway platforms, any electricity generation units, and even I can talk about solar power generations, and even whenever you are going for any safety precautions and warehouses, storages, cold chains, so these all will comes under your capital expenditure. So what is the relevance? So why we need to talk about this capital expenditure, and whenever we are increasing this capital expenditure, so what will be the impact that is seen on our economy? So whenever there is increasing of capital expenditure, means finally it will add to our production, okay, to our production capacity, of economy. So whenever we are increasing this capital expenditure, means it will mainly contributes for the production capacity of our economy. Sorry. Whenever there is increasing of this capital expenditure, we can also attract private investment. Okay, we can also attract private investment. So whenever we are attracting private investments, we can increase employment creation, or employment generation capacity will be increased, right? And further, this capital expenditure will also improve efficiency. It also improves the efficiency of our economy. Okay, And whenever this capital expenditure is increasing, that will help to reduce the cost of doing business. That will mainly promote ease of doing business. So these are the some important relevance. Okay, so this is the one some important relevance of this capital expenditure. So you need to remember, first one is it will mainly contributes for the production capacity of the economy, and it will attract private investment, and it will also create employment, and even it will improve efficiency of our economy, and finally that will also decreases cost of doing business. So this will be the relevance. And if you are focusing on what are the challenges in this capital expenditure, so first and the foremost thing, please make a note here. So if we are talking about challenges regarding this capital expenditure, we need to focus on quality of this capital expenditure. So we should not only focus on how much amount or how many infrastructure projects we came up, but we need to also focus on quality. Okay, quality of infrastructure is also very, very important. Okay, so we need to look into which type of assets we are creating. Okay, we need to also look into which types of infrastructure that we are mainly creating, whether it is sustainable long term or not, and we need to also think about their contribution in the production capacity. That means whenever you are coming up with so and so infrastructure project, whether it is leading to increasing of our productivity or not. So this is the thing we should be evaluate. Okay, and for example, if you are going for laying of any roads, we need to think about whether these roads are durable or not. Okay, so whenever you are talking about electricity generation or electricity generating units, okay, then we will talk about whether maintenance and repair will also be included or not. So these are the some important things regarding this quality of infrastructure or quality of capital expenditure. So this is the first thing. And if you're talking about second thing, so we need to also know about clarity. Okay, clarity should be maintained regarding creation of assets. Regarding creation of assets, so we need to have a clarity. For example, if you are talking about this Air India, so in this budget about 51,000 crore they are mainly provisioned for this 2021-2022 to pay back the old loans of this Air India, actually which will not contribute for the production. Okay, so we need to have a clarity regarding where we are spending. And next important challenge here is creating of infrastructure. It is not only important, but we need to focus on even employment generation. Okay, even we need to focus on this employment generation. So employment generation at a fast pace, it is a very good policy, but we need to also focus on the skill development of workers. Okay, skill development is also very important. So whenever we are creating this higher production of necessities, we need to also focus on this food, fuel, and as well as shelter, etc. Before, whenever the skill which is upgraded by this workers, then they will be getting more salary. So whenever they are getting more salary or the more wages, then they will be also demanding for the goods and services. So here government need to be ready for providing what are the demands which are made by this workers also, and government should be also be cautioned regarding this inflation as well. Okay, so this is about this challenges. Okay, so if you're talking about challenges, so these are the some important challenges that you need to know. Okay, so first one here is quality of capital expenditure, and the second one is clarity should be maintained, that is in which area they have to go for investment, and next one is employment generation. So now let us talk about one more important thing regarding this capital expenditure, that is the role of states in this capital expenditure. So we need to talk about even role of states. So why? Because whenever a central government which is coming up with any other policy means, finally who is going to implement that? That is the states. So here states will also have an important role even in this capital expenditure. So now let us try to understand what is the role of the states. So first and the important thing that you need to know here is, in year 2021 to 2022, government came up with the provision of about 5,50,000 crore, okay, especially in this budgetary estimates, and even it extended this budgetary estimates, but out of this capital budgetary estimate, just it is not even spent 70% of this budgetary amount. Okay, and even in this 2020 to 2023, So government had allocated the state governments to take loans from the central government, and the loan here is rupees 1 lakh crore. So which is for all the states, not for the single state. So center said that it is going to provide the loans for about rupees 1 lakh crores for capital expenditure, and this loan it is for 50 years and the rate of interest here is 0%. So here states can go for the center and they can get a loan of about 3.5% of the state GDP. And if at all, if that state which went for electricity reforms, they can avail plus addition 0.5% of GDP's loan. Okay. So what will be the objective here? So what is the objective here is mainly here government want to improve center state relations. Okay. So government want to improve the center state relations. And one more thing here is, here the final thing, that is who is going to implement that project, that is a state government. So state government has to implement the project. So because of this states they got the freedom. Okay, they got the freedom mainly to borrow and spend in their own chosen project. So these are some important objectives behind that. So if you are talking about tax proposals and as well as revenue of government, you need to know some important things. So what are those things? First one is regarding income tax. It is like personal income tax. Next one is tax on digital assets. And next one is undeclared income. And next one is long-term capital gains tax and cooperative tax and custom duty. So now let us try to talk about one by one in detail. So if you are talking about this personal income tax, so in this personal income tax, in this budget, there is no proper change. We can say that there is no change in this personal income tax. If you are talking about tax on digital assets, so here 30% of capital gain tax plus 1% of TDS, that is tax deduction at source. Where they are getting tax at that place, there will be 1% deduction of tax will be done by the people who are going to give that, and that 1% will be paid to the government. Okay, and that TDS can be filed later on. Okay, so if you are talking about this 30% of this capital gains tax, that is mainly imposed on this digital assets. Okay, because now I can say like cryptocurrency, which is mainly used in the trade much. So because of this, what happened? So from this digital currency also they are getting money, right? So because of this, there is 30% of capital gains tax which is mainly imposed, along with that 1% of TDS. So whenever the TDS which is imposed by the government, we can identify where the transaction is happening and who are doing these transactions, we can know that, right? And next important thing here is, so whenever this 30% of capital gains tax which is imposed on this digital assets means, now here many people, they will be getting some hope like government might going to accept this cryptocurrency, right? And they can freely trade on this cryptocurrency. So this is about digital assets. And next one, it is regarding undeclared income. So if you are talking about this undeclared income, so what is this talking about? So before saying this undeclared amount regarding this digital assets, I have to say one point. So for example, I am buying one asset, okay, and I am selling some asset. So what happens, for example, if when one asset I got a profit of 15% and in second asset I got a loss of 10%. So net will be the 5% of profit. So whenever I am getting this 5% of profit, so I will be paying tax on this 5%. So here what happens, so in this budget, especially regarding this digital asset, there is no provision of this loss. Loss cannot be cancelled. So how much amount of profit you are getting? You are getting profit of 15%. So on this entire 15% you need to pay the tax. So this is one more important thing that you need to remember regarding this digital asset. And the next one, it is regarding this undeclared income. So here this budgetary provision which made one important provision regarding this undeclared income. So earlier, if you are not declaring the income, means the case will be filed, everything will be filed. But now this year there is a provision called as, so if you have undeclared income and if you are declaring in the next year, you need to pay tax of 25%. And if you are declaring further 2 years, that means it will be like 50% of tax will be paid. So in this way, this provision, it is like a taxpayer friendly provision. And next one is long term gains tax. So regarding this long term gains tax, whenever you are mainly going for the share or debentures or bonds, or we can say like for unlisted companies. So here this long term capital gains tax, on this long term capital gain tax, the surcharge here is 15%. Earlier it was like 25% and 37%. Okay, 25% if you are having the profits of more than 2 crore and 37% for this 5 crore. Okay, but now it decreased to 15%. Okay, so this is about long term capital gains tax. And if you're talking about cooperative tax, in the first part we already discussed about this cooperative tax. And if you're talking about custom duty, there is a one important concept that you need to know, that is inverted duty structure. So you need to know about inverted duty structure. So what is this duty structure? So if you are importing raw materials, and sometimes you can also import the finished goods. So on this raw materials, whenever we are importing, import duty will be high normally than compared to that of this finished goods. So because of this, if I am a company owner, if my company is going for a production of any goods, means if at all there is import duty which is high on this raw materials rather than compared to that of this finished goods, what happen? We will be buying this finished goods rather than this raw material. So because of this, it mainly intensifies this domestic industries. So because of this, now there is a change in this custom duties. So this custom duty mainly revised for many imports, and they are mainly focusing to remove the problem of this inverted duty structure, so that here now the import duty on this raw materials will be low compared to that of this finished goods. So in this way, it will be helpful for domestic industries. And now let us try to talk about what are the challenges or the missing things in this budget. So the first one is, if you are talking about this tax to GDP ratio. So first one is tax to GDP ratio, which is mainly declined from last year. So whenever this tax to GDP ratio is decreasing, means we can say there is rising of inequality. So there is rising of inequality in our country. So regarding this, how to decrease this inequality, there is no policy intervention in our budget. So this is the first important thing. And second important thing, you can talk about share of indirect taxes. Okay, second thing, it is regarding share of indirect taxes. So the share of indirect taxes to direct taxes here, it is like 49 to 51%. Okay, so the share of indirect taxes to direct tax here is 49% to 51%. That means we are getting more taxes from this indirect taxes than compared to that of this direct taxes. So you might be knowing about what is this indirect tax and direct tax, right? So this direct tax, for example, income tax is there, corporate tax is there, gift tax, etc. And this one example for this indirect tax here is GST. So whenever this indirect tax are increasing, means the tax will be collected from the poor and the rich equally. So because of this, it is like a punishing of poor. So because this indirect tax, it is a regressive tax. So everyone should pay that. But in this direct tax, it is a progressive tax. That means only rich can pay that. But here, if you're talking about the share of indirect to direct taxes, so indirect tax, which is very much high. So because of this, what happened? It is mainly affecting the poor the most. Okay. And if you are talking about next thing, so next thing about different taxes. Okay. If you are talking about personal income tax, and next one is corporate tax, and next one is indirect taxes. Okay, so we need to talk about that. So if we're talking about this tax here, so income tax, which mainly projects like 7,80,000 crore, which is the highest, it is the first. Okay, that is a GST. From GST we are getting more amount of the tax collection, that is indirect tax. Indirect tax, it is the first place. And if you're talking about second one, it is a corporate tax. So from corporate tax, we are going to get like 7,20,000 crore. It is like government projections. And if we're talking about from income tax, we are going to get like 7 lakh crore. So the first, we are getting the high amount of tax from the GST. And second, it is from corporate tax. And third, it is from IT, that is income tax, that is personal income tax. So if you're saying the last year, the first one was a GST, and the second is IT, and third one is corporate tax. So there is a little change here. It is regarding government projections. Okay. So, and one more thing here is government in this year budget does not talk about reforming of this income tax. For example, reducing of tax slabs or increasing the standard deductions, etc. So that is not talked here. So this is also one important thing which is mainly missing in this year budget. And now let us talk about budget and fiscal consolidation. Actually, this might be your separate mains question for 10 marker or 15 marker. So please be focused. So if you are talking about budget and fiscal consolidation, already in number of times we studied about this fiscal consolidation. Now Hindu news analysis. So what is this fiscal consolidation? So fiscal consolidation nothing but it is mainly focusing on reducing deficit. Okay, it is mainly focusing on reducing deficit in the budget. So how can we go for reducing the deficit? Especially we can go for improving efficiency. Okay, we can go for improving this efficiency, and we can go for decreasing of this wastage. Okay, decreasing of this wasteful expenditure. So what is this fiscal consolidation? It is nothing but reducing of deficit in the budget, and we are mainly focusing on how to improve our efficiency, and on other side we can also focus on how to decrease this wasteful expenditure. Okay, and we can also talk about we can decrease this wasteful expenditure especially by better targeting of the beneficiaries. So this is about some introduction regarding this fiscal consolidation, and I think already you know about this topic. Okay, well. And if you're talking about deficits, we have fiscal deficit, we have revenue deficit, we have primary deficit. So regarding this basics already, I think you might be knowing about that. If you are not sure about this fiscal deficit, revenue deficit and primary deficit, so please do some research regarding these deficits. Actually, these deficits will become your prelims question. So if you're talking about revenue estimate and as well as now budgetary estimate, so here revenue estimate of this fiscal deficit is like 6.9%. And now this budget estimate says that we are going to decrease this fiscal deficit by 6.4%. So here there is 0.5% of a decrease, right? And next one is revenue deficit. So the revenue estimate here is 4.7% and the budget estimate here is 3.8%. It is like almost 0.9% of decrease. And here if you are talking about this primary deficit, earlier the revenue estimate it says that it is 3.3%. And this budget estimate now it says that 2.8, not 28, it is 2.8%. So it is like decreasing of 0.5%. So in all these deficits we can see there is a decrease. So whenever there is a decreasing means what will be the positives? So what is a sign? Okay, what is the thing which mainly says whenever these deficits are decreasing means? So it will helpful especially in reducing, it will be helpful in especially reducing in debt to GDP ratio. So it will be helpful mainly to reduce debt to GDP ratio, and this is one of the very important sign for macroeconomic stability. So it is one of the important sign of macroeconomic stability. So even if you are talking about the debt of a center and as well as state, so here at present the debt here is 90%. And center debt here is 60% and state debt here is 30%. But recent 15th Finance Commission recommendation says that, so this debt that to be come up by this 60%. So in this 60% center should be 40% and state should be 20%. Okay. So this is about some introduction regarding this fiscal consolidation. And now let us try to talk about what are the challenges regarding this fiscal consolidation. So before seeing these challenges, and now let us try to see two more important points here. So if you are talking about this capital expenditure, so because of high amount of capital expenditure this year budget estimates, which mainly says that it is 24% high. So now because of this high expenditure we can see there will be the deficit, but this deficit that will add our capacity in our future. Okay, because of revival of economic activity. So everything will be happens whenever we are increasing this capex, like we can attract more investments. So because of this, here this whatever the thing that you are spending now which we are going to have returns in the future. And if you are talking about this revenue deficit which mainly fallen sharply from 7%, okay, 7% in 2022 to less than 4% in 2022 to 2023. So why? Because we are mainly decreasing the wasteful expenditure here in this revenue deficit. And now let us try to talk about some challenges regarding this fiscal consolidation. So please make a note here. So first important challenge, or the thing which is missing in this budget here, is reduction in food subsidy. We discussed in our part 1, right? So there is reduction in our food subsidy. Okay, it is not ideal thing, because now we are facing a threat of K-shaped recovery. So here the less poor people, they are mainly going back into this poverty or below poverty line. So because of this, mainly to ensure the food security for these people, here we need to focus on this food subsidy and poor condition of deprived in India. Okay, so for them, so we should not decrease this food subsidy. So this is the first important challenge. And second one, it is regarding wasteful expenditure. So if you're talking about this wasteful expenditure, so there is a high subsidy that is given in this power. Okay, but we are seeing that in this power it is not much efficient. So here we need to go for better targeting of this wasteful expenditure. And third important thing here is regarding allocation for MG-Narega. So here, if you are talking about the third challenge here, allocation for this MG-Narega had been reduced, okay, in spite of increasing the demand here. So here allocation for this MG-Narega which mainly decreased. Okay, so this is one important thing. So earlier it was like 98,000 crore rupees in 2021 to 2022, and now this year it is like 73,000 crores in this 2022 to 2023. So there is a decreasing of allocation for this MG-Narega, even though there is a higher demand that is seen. So actually here in this MG-Narega itself, about 10,000 crore rupees they are mainly pending at this material. Okay, for buying of material, they already had the due of 10,000 rupees crore, and next one is about 3,500 crore which are pending regarding salaries. Okay, salaries of workers. So if you see here, it is like 13,500 rupees, 13,500 crore rupees. So here, if you remove that, means it will be having just almost 60,000 crore rupees for 1 year. So actually, it is not at all sufficient for this MG-Narega. And fourth important challenge here is budget has not given any roadmap. So this year budget which has not given any roadmap for urban employment guarantee scheme. So in rural areas we have this MG-Narega, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. But here in the same lines, this year budget which did not talk about this urban employment guarantee scheme. Actually this scheme which is mainly present in some states like Kerala and as well as Tamil Nadu, but this thing which is mainly not talked in this year budget. And now let us try to talk about last topic of the day. It is regarding central bank digital currency. Okay, in short I can say that CBDC, it is central bank digital currency. Actually this year which mainly this central bank's digital currency, it is a thing which mainly proposed in the budget with the legislation reforms now. So who will going to issue this CBDC? It is our RBI. So RBI which is going to issue this digital currency. So actually this digital currency which is mainly developed by using this blockchain technology, which is mainly used for the generation of this digital currency. So what will be the benefits? So this will be very important from your mains point of view. So if you are talking about benefits, the first one here is, so here RBI, we need to talk about this RBI position. Okay, so here whenever RBI which is issuing this central currency or digital currency, it does not compromise on this RBI position as a sole authority of India. regarding the issuing of currency. So RBI itself, it is mainly issuing this digital currency. So here sole authority will be the RBI again. Okay, so whenever RBI which is issuing this digital currency, then monetary policy will be very much easy for this RBI. So this is the first important benefit. And second important benefit here is we can make transactions. Those will be more convenient, and as well as this mainly backed by blockchain technology. Okay, so we can make the transactions to are more convenient, easy, and this also backed up by this blockchain technology. And if you see, the third important benefit here is the cost and as well as transaction. Okay, cost and as well as transaction of money with this international, okay, with the other countries will be very much easy. For example, if you are present here and if your kids, if your children are present in other countries means, so if you want to transfer the money, it will be very easy when you are using this digital currency. Okay, and one more important benefit I can talk about regarding this loss of currency. Okay, loss of currency, or we can say like loss which is mainly incurred due to currency mutilation. Okay, so we can also remove or we can also reduce the loss which is mainly caused due to this currency mutilation. So mutilation means whenever we are exchanging the money, sometimes the currency notes will be torn off. Okay, so this cost will be reduced because here RBI will be using much amount of money, especially for the printing of money. So because of this, so this loss will be also reduced here. So these will be the 4 important benefits regarding this central bank digital currency. And now let us try to talk about challenges. So what are the challenges regarding this digital currency? So there are challenges that you need to remember. Okay, so this digital currency, this will be very important for this year mains especially. So if you are talking about challenges, the first one is there is a lack of clarity. First one is we are missing the clarity. Okay, if other countries will be accepted this digital currency or not, we do not have a proper clarity. Actually, Chinese made a statement that it is mainly saying that the digital currency will be illegal. Okay, so we have a lack, we have mainly the lack of clarity. We do not have proper clarity regarding if the other countries, they are mainly going to accept this digital currency as par with this physical currency or not. We do not have a proper clarity till now. So this is a one important challenge. And next one is we can also see there might be the inflationary tendency. There might be inflationary tendency. Okay, so because money, for the printing of money will be reduced, and the money will be very easy, and even the circulation will be very faster when we are using this digital currency. So because of this, it can also lead to this inflationary tendency in the market. And now let us try to see the third important challenge. The third important challenge here is there is some threat. Okay, threat of cyber security. Okay, so even though if you are following this current affairs, you are getting many reports regarding there is increasing of the cyber threats. Okay, so even especially for the people who are digital illiterate, they are mainly left behind. Okay, so these are some important challenges regarding this central bank's digital currency. So these are some important topics that are very important, especially are very relevant from your mains. Especially this part 2 is important from your mains. So please make a note of the points that I said. So that will be very useful till your mains. So by this I am concluding. I hope you enjoyed this budget session, and I think you are somewhat enthusiastic regarding reading of economy from now. Okay, so if you are not comfortable with some basic terms like fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, primary deficit, please open your NCERT and you can get those concepts clarified. Okay, so by this I am concluding. Thank you so much.